So Formula 1 silly season is in full swing, and for those of you who don't know, silly season is the part of the season where the driver contracts get announced, and every single season there's always a bombshell. And this season it all started with the news that Sebastian Vettel would retire and that Fernando Alonso would leave Alpine to replace him at Aston Martin. Now this left one of the most important seats in Formula 1, that Alpine seat, completely vacant, and Alpine almost immediately announced that it would be Oscar Piastri to replace Fernando Alonso. Or will he? Because there were a lot of strange things about this announcement, from the fact that it was made at 2:12 Melbourne time when Oscar Piastri is Australian, to the fact that there was no quote from Oscar in the official press release, or the fact that Oscar himself didn't post anything on social media for what is the biggest promotion of his career. And then the entire Formula 1 Twitter community just lit on fire when just 1 hour later, Oscar Piastri tweeted that he won't be driving for Alpine in 2023. So what is happening here? In this video I'm going to give you my quick opinion and then try to explain things a little bit. Let's get right into the action. Okay, so at 2:12 Australian time, Alpine released a statement on Twitter that said, after 4 years as a part of the Renault and Alpine family, reserve driver Oscar Piastri is being promoted to a race seat alongside Esteban Ocon for 2023. And it had the picture of Oscar smiling, everything seemed okay, I was hyped over the moon because I'm a massive Oscar Piastri fan. But then at almost 3 AM Australian time, Oscar actually released a statement that said, I understand that without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year. So in this statement, Oscar not only states that he doesn't have a contract signed with Alpine right now, he states that he won't be driving for the team next year. Now, these are two very different things, because it could be that Oscar would be driving for Alpine, but he just didn't have the contract yet and the announcement was made too soon. No, this is a position where Oscar actually says, I will not be driving for them next year. So a very interesting situation, and to me this is one of the major driver market shakeups that we have ever seen, because this means a lot of things for the driver market. And one of the things that I think it means is that we will see Oscar Piastri partnering Lando Norris at McLaren in 2023, and then Daniel Ricciardo will be kicked out of the team. Now I say this for a lot of reasons, but the main one is that it's rumored that Alpine and Oscar had a contract where Alpine had an option to promote Oscar to a race seat up until August 1st. And if you don't know, this whole confusion was made on August the 2nd. So what's happening right here is that Alpine actually announced Piastri after his contract with Alpine had expired. And what probably happened during the silly season and during the rest of the season is that Alpine was so confident that they were going to get Alonso for 1 more year that they allowed Oscar Piastri, because if you don't know, he's an Alpine junior, they allowed Oscar Piastri to negotiate with other teams. For a long time the rumor was that he was going to Williams, but now the major rumors was that he was going to replace Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren, and they allowed his management in Mark Webber to negotiate with other Formula 1 teams. And well, those negotiations seem to have gone so well that he probably already has a contract signed with McLaren, and it just wasn't announced because of the whole Daniel Ricciardo situation. Now I say that the contract is with McLaren because even though every single team on the grid seems to want a little bit of Oscar Piastri, you wouldn't refuse a contract with Alpine, one of the best teams in Formula 1 right now, a team that won a race last year and that is showing a very, very strong form this year to be 4th in the Constructors' Championship, to go to a team like Williams or Aston Martin or Haas. You would only refuse a contract with Alpine to go to a team that's at least as competitive as them, but if not more. And if you take a look at McLaren this year, they are behind Alpine in the standings, but that's a little bit because of Daniel Ricciardo's performances. And if McLaren had 2 drivers on the same caliber as Lando Norris, they would be way ahead of Alpine, almost in that Mercedes range of points. So it's very interesting to see everything that's happening here. As everyone is saying on Twitter, this just reminds me about the whole Palou, Chip Ganassi, McLaren situation. Again, McLaren is involved, and the fact that neither Alpine, nor Oscar, nor McLaren are really putting anything on social media is really crazy. And I really just hope that Oscar doesn't end up without a Formula 1 seat due to this whole mess. I really don't know who Alpine are going to bring up to their team, because of course that for both parties to be saying this on Twitter, they both feel that they are in the right, so Alpine really should think that they have announced Oscar before his option had expired, but Oscar really understands that he was not contractually obligated to stay with Alpine, so a very big mess. Imagine how the environment is going to be on that Alpine garage for Spa, with Alonso leaving the team without telling anyone and the team finding out through a press release, and then Oscar Piastri being announced and then saying that he doesn't want to drive for them. So, very crazy situation that will put Alpine in a very tough spot. And unlike what happened with Aston Martin, where they just looked very professional immediately after Sebastian Vettel announcing his retirement, scooping up Fernando Alonso from under the rug of Alpine, well, Alpine are giving the opposite impression. They are not looking professional in this situation, and they are doing things that they probably shouldn't do. So I really hope that this doesn't end up with Oscar without a Formula 1 seat, because these situations tend to get really, really messy, and Oscar and his management will really need to fight for that McLaren deal to be announced as soon as possible. Now this puts both McLaren and Alpine in a very tough situation, because by saying this to the world, Oscar basically announced that he had a deal with McLaren, which puts McLaren in a very tough situation, because now that Daniel Ricciardo pretty much guesses that someone is coming in to replace him, he's never going to leave the team voluntarily. He's just going to wait for McLaren to tell him that he's out, and that way McLaren would have to pay him the rest of his contract out, and probably a fee for kicking him out early from his contract, and therefore McLaren would have to pay a lot of money. But Alpine is also in a very tough position, because without Piastri, who are they going to put in that seat? Is it Pierre Gasly? Is it another driver? Well, anyway, they have invested a lot of money into Oscar Piastri's career that they are now going to lose, and then they are going to probably have to pull out another driver from his current contract and have to pay him more in order to have a driver lineup for 2023. And it's not going to be their ideal driver lineup, so it's going to be very tense for Alpine. I thought that Alpine were finally on the up, but their management doesn't seem to be able to put it together, and I just don't see good things for Alpine over the next 2 or 3 years, because even though I like Esteban Ocon, he's not the top tier caliber driver that he seemed in the beginning of his career, and Oscar Piastri may very well be, but is not going to Alpine. So who are they going to put in that Alpine seat? Let me know in the comments down below, because I honestly have no idea. And it's going to be very interesting to see what McLaren and what Alpine say over the next couple of hours. I have my Twitter feed open and refreshing as I'm recording this video to see if there is any announcement. And in the meantime, if you guys want live updates on this whole situation, please don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I have an account where I post a lot of live updates on this situation, as well as telemetry data once a race weekend is on. So the links will be down below if you guys want to follow me. But in the meantime, that's been it for this video, and if you guys enjoyed, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and once again follow me on Twitter, and you can check out my latest video right here or a replay of my latest live stream right here, and I'll see you later this week. Goodbye!